we are going through some things. There are some particular instances where individuals basically lose most of their house or the ability to live in their house. And right now, as it stands, the way our ordinances read, you can't have a camper, for example, in your yard for X amount of times living in it. And I think that that would be a perfect example of something we can do to put a moratorium, if it's legal, to go in and do something of that nature. I'm not saying just give people free reign to just start popping campers up everywhere. I would say that you would have to show, you have to do your diligence on your part as a citizen and say, hey, I have contacted this contractor, XYZ. They're going to start on such date. They have an estimated completion time of 6 months, 8 months, whatever the case may be, so that they put a little skin in the game also. But I think along with that, along the lines of that, along the lines of trees falling, we can't, obviously neighbors want their stuff cleaned up. If I had a neighbor's tree fall on my stuff personally, I'm gonna, hopefully you can work out a solution to work together in the time of crises, but that doesn't always happen. But I think whatever we can do as far as being a council, that we need to make sure that we can do everything in our power to make it easier on the citizens within the city. And I'm not saying we just, stop enforcing all rules and regulations according, to the codes and things, because that's not really, acceptable, obviously. But the things that we can do and the things that we are able to do, I would hope that you guys would be willing to make a motion here tonight at some point to say that at least to get the city attorney to start researching specific things. If we can come up with a list of specifics that we want to grant moratoriums on in order to ease the burden somewhat on the citizens, because I don't want to see anybody penalized for having to live in a camper in their yard when their home is destroyed, for example. That was kind of my main issue, because I do have that in my neighborhood. I'm sure you guys have maybe some similar things. So, yeah. Okay.
Speaking about campers, this problem just didn't start with the storm. We have seen an influx of campers, people living in campers, in shed houses, in tents, all of that. If we want to give a moratorium on that, my question is, when we get past that, how are we going to?
So my thoughts right now are, if it's against, if I'm not speaking of letting people just start putting campers up. If they were doing that in the first place, then obviously that's a code enforcement thing that's got to be addressed. It's not, that's code enforcement, and that's something we'll have to look at separately. I'm just saying, if a person has a contract on their home to be repaired, and they're showing good faith, they're providing the documentation, whatever the stipulations that the city and the city attorney and Mr. Curtis and Mr. Sessions decide that are prudent, then I think that we can show some grace and allow those things for now.
Be approved.
I would say it has to be approved, 100%. Yeah.
Right. I agree with you there, but then we have the issue of the ones
I would say that's also
there, and it's
a huge problem. Yes.
Right, and it's growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we have to just as eager as we are to fix this problem and the people do need a place to stay. People whose homes are torn up.
Yes.
But we need to really address the issue of all of these campers that are popping up that have already been against city ordinance in this city. Because one thing, if they're living in them, Mr. Session, we're not getting impact fees. That's a place where they're living, and we say we want our city to grow. So if they choose to go and live in a camper, that interferes with our resources.
I think what it does come down to also, too, Ms. Robinson, is that I think we're all on the same page in that, and I don't think Mr. Sessions or Mr. Curtis would disagree, but I think it was basically, and I've heard this for a couple of years now as well, but that when the new code enforcement officer took over, there's already a backlog of basically, I mean, Mr. Sessions is
2 years.
2 years backlog of stuff, so he's working through 2 years and still trying to, so I think it's a workload issue, to be honest, and he's just trying to do the best he can right now, but yeah, I would agree, it's an issue, but for now, I just want to, then we could talk about that another time, but I want to
Yeah, we
focus
may need a
on.
workshop on how we
100%.
straighten
Yes,
those
ma'am.
things,
I agree.
those particular things out. But yeah, I'm in agreement with
They're making-
emergency
yeah.
temporary housing, RVs for those citizens who have been affected by these hurricanes.
And there may be other things too that you guys can think of that I'm totally not thinking of. This is just one example of a real life matter that's happening in the Sherwood Forest neighborhood. So, yeah, I know Mr. Sessions and Mr. Curtis were going to speak.
Yeah, I'll speak first. I'm in constant contact with FPL and Swanee Valley Electric. And so over the weekend, I get calls, when somebody needs to get power back on, and we don't have our inspector available on the weekends most of the time. So what I told FPL and Swanee Valley Electric, if it's just a weatherhead issue where the power company actually disconnects the weatherhead or has been ripped loose, but there's no damage to the house or the weatherhead, then I'm allowing the FPL and Swanee Valley Electric and Duke and whoever to reconnect after pulling the meter out, and then stay there when they put the meter back in to make sure there's no issues in the house.
Okay.
And then if there's damage, then they have to come get a permit from the city to do the repairs, but I'm waiving the fees for the permits for the damage. And that's what we
That's good
decided
stuff.
to do. And then if George wants to speak to the camper stuff, he's better suited to do that.
Good evening, George Curtis, Development Manager, City of Live Oak. So a brief background, last year when Hurricane Idalia came through, we were contacted by FEMA regarding some FEMA provided RVs that they were going to propose to locate at damaged homes, and they cited some state law that supported the fact that we could do like a 6-month temporary permit for those, and it can't be permanently installed. It has to be tied into water and sewer. There's criteria that they have to meet. There has to be a good faith effort for the repair to take place within that 6 months. So last week we had a similar request, but not a FEMA generated request from a property owner. I met with Mr. Sessions last Thursday. Showed him a picture of the house with a big tree on it. And they had a contractor already lined up to do the work. The contractor was requesting to do the RV in this situation, similar to what we allow for the other ones. So we modified the application that we have for FEMA and to cover this kind of situation, and we made that available to the property owner and the contractor so that they could do that. And we'll keep track with their progress as far as repairs and make sure the permits are pulled and all that. And the contractor has committed, within that time frame to remove it once the work is done. And if for some reason something does go past the 6-month period, we do, as long as there's a good faith effort made, we can, give them a couple extra months but we are going to watch those situations.
So what you're telling me is you already fixed the problem
Yes, sir.
before I even brought it up. So there we go. That's awesome. I know I appreciate that. I'm sure you guys appreciate it and our citizens will. So we don't even have to take action on it. You did it already, so give that man a pay raise right there. That's awesome, because common sense is sometimes, foregoing. Don't get me started, but yeah, so that's awesome. So never mind. George fixed it already. Attaboy, George. All right, moving on to item 5, I guess it's B now. Recommendation is Ms. Robinson's.
This one here is October 1st, there was a lot of new laws that came into effect, and I think that we need to have a workshop on some of those because they do affect municipalities, so that we can get that down. It's too much to try to go over in a meeting such as this right here, but a public workshop on those.
So, given the current state of affairs right now, do we want to try and do that first, before maybe the first week of, when do we want to try to do that? I know, we can, Just want on record that we need to have a workshop.
Yeah, and then we can come up with a
Next
date.
time in November-ish.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Mr. City Clerk. All right, duly noted. All right, anything else on that, Ms. Robinson?
No,
All right,
that's
thank you
it.
so much. All right, Mr. Sessions.
Okay.
Actually, before you get started, let's go ahead and we changed the resolution.
Oh, the resolution.
I'm sorry, I missed my own notes here. Mr. City Clerk, want to read that into effect?
Resolution number 2024-34, resolution of the City Council of the City of Live Oak, Florida, declaring a local state of emergency for the City of Live Oak pursuant to Section 252.38(2) Florida statutes due to the threat of potential tropical storm Milton, providing for waiver of procedures and formalities, delegating authority, and providing an effective date.
Does it matter that that says tropical storm or not?
At the time, that's what
At
it
the
was.
time it was, so things changed.
All right. All right, do I need to open this up to public comment, or is this just a?
This is just a council action on it.
All right, you guys have heard the resolution. Do we have a motion on the table?
I make a motion that we approve this resolution 2024-34.
All right.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Like sign? All right. Resolution 2024-34 is approved. All right, now, Mr. City.
All right, public service announcement, okay? The debris that we all have, and we have had for a long time, has been taken out of our hands by the state. We get countless phone calls every day, why aren't you picking up my debris? We will continue with our regular garbage pickup, but debris pickup is on the state. And so, I know how it was last year during Adelia, that we saw the big trucks driving through town and nothing was being picked up in the city. The other day when we had our debris meeting with the FDOT and the state, they asked for 10 roads in the city that were, very important to have cleared up. And then after that, I specifically spoke to the head of the debris removal, the head contractor. And Ms. Holland, you and I think alike. I told them to start at the Douglas Center and go to 90 and go from Gold Kiss to Walker, because those people have the least amount of room in their yards to put debris. They can't even park their cars in their yards because of debris, park them on the streets. So that's the instructions that I gave them on, Jill, what day was that?
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday. I'm sure they haven't done exactly like we asked, but they're the state contractors and we are not allowed to even basically talk to them. But I did during that meeting and told them what I thought would be best for the city to start with. So at this point in time, the EOC, Emergency Operations Center in Live Oak, is where you need to call with debris complaints. Not that I'm trying to get away from it, but we have no ability to pick anything up. If we pick it up, we're not even getting paid for it. Now last year we did a lot, we spent a lot of money doing things just to try to help the citizens and never got any reimbursement for it. The other information during the Helene update, so far under emergency appropriations, I've had to spend $292,500 to repair and replace things that are above my purview. But since it's an emergency, I have the ability to approve these things to keep things running, like the generators that we need to run for the spray field that also helps downtown from flooding and removes the stuff in the waste treatment plant. We've also had to remove lots of trees and debris from the Heritage Park and Gardens and different parks around town, and we're still working on them. But we have to help pay for that. So far, that's the level that I've spent so far just for a few repairs and for some of the cleanup. The Tiger Dams, of course, we didn't need them last time. We did deploy them. We didn't really get a crew here that could really help us. We had about 4 people show up that knew a little bit about it, but we managed with the help of jails department, H2O, and the city firefighters everybody pitched in, and we got them all in place. Didn't need them, which was fantastic. Presently, we have everything pumped down as far down as it can go. I'm sure hardly anybody in town has ever seen the retention pond behind Gills as low as it is. We've got everything down as far as it'll go. We're expected to get 2 to 4, maybe 5 inches in live oak from this next storm, which we can handle that with no problem, especially with those internal retention ponds pumped down like they are. I feel confident that we should be okay through this next storm. But we are all working together, H2O, fire department, city guys, you know, the county people. We're all trying to work together to make all this happen and get it done right. And if you have any questions, you can ask me after the meeting, any other question you want to ask me. But I think we've done about all we can do at this point. And like the mayor said, most of the resources yesterday went south because of the impending danger to all those people in the Tampa and Sarasota area. I just want to say a prayer for them tonight because it's going to hit them pretty hard, and it's going to be about 3 o'clock on Thursday morning when it makes landfall. So we need to all keep them in our prayers. And that's really about all I have for the Hurricane Helene update.
I have some questions about what you're giving us this here regarding the update. The emergency purchasing.
That's just so you know what I've been spending.
Right, and this is the questions that I have. Okay, now I can understand damages to the spray field. There was something that had to be repaired right away. 2 vertical motors at $38,000 a piece, $76,000. Did this control panel, one 200 horsepower duplex control panel?
It was completely blown over off the property. The building that it was housed in was destroyed by a deluge. We replaced it, and it was destroyed again, and the control panel was underneath that.
Okay, so that,
There's the insurance claim on that.
okay, so there's an insurance claim on this right here. Okay. Now, we have cleanup of approximately 65 pine trees to Tri-County Tree Service, $86,000. 2 uprooted oak, 30 down pines, and 19 down pines of different sizes, $40,000. All this is over at Heritage Park right here. So what was the emergency? Were they blocking the entry? Were they blocking
A lot of those,
something for the emergency? Why it's considered to be an emergency?
a lot of this, since it's a public area, there's a lot of hangers, a lot of trees leaned over that could possibly fall and kill somebody. And that was, we did the exact same thing in the last storm. We cleaned the same area up again, which is this we can turn into FEMA for reimbursement, but it's something that we need to do for the public to keep them safe. I can't just leave trees down and then somebody decides they want to go to this park and then a tree falls on it, then the liability goes way up for us. So we have to be proactive and remove all the possibilities of damages from these trees and the ability for a tree to fall and hurt someone.
Do we get bids?
We got, yes ma'am, we got bids.
And so these were the bids, the lower bids, or how was it determined that we chose this? Because there's still, well, the Heritage Trail, there's $47,000 that's added to this.
We're in this together with the county. Jason and I both looked at the bids and we took the lowest bids, you know, when they came across. And we just have to get it cleaned up.
And to be clear, this is stuff is eligible for FEMA reimbursement, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the other, the spray field stuff was insurance claims?
With the last, you said we did this the last time, with the last storm. Did we get reimbursement through FEMA?
We're still waiting.
Applications are filed and they're being reviewed.
We're still waiting on our Adelia information, and it's already turned in, but we're still waiting for payment.
There's a question. Last up, Heritage Trail, the CRA hit with some of that. Have we looked at them paying for some of that since there's CRA?
I don't really think that they can. I think they can do beautification and things like that, but when it comes to cleaning and removing debris, it's pretty much on us in the county. And that, you know, we just have to make sure that they're cleared out and usable for the public.
So CRA will, they decide to re-beautify this area with planting of trees, then they'll take on that responsibility.
Nick, would you like to expound on that?
Sure, so if that's what the CRA board is, Nick Regiola, CRA coordinator, or director, no, City of Live Oak. If we could do replacing fences, building, stuff like that, but we can't do, just fixing and maintenance, we could do replacement. If a fence got knocked down along the trail, we could do something like that. If a light pole or anything that's on the trail or that, but it would get the board, we'd have to discuss that at the board, bring that forward. So if there's anything along the trail or Heritage Park and they want to bring it to us, city can present it to us and we can present it to the board and figure out what exactly we are able to do. I don't think that's the word. So that would just be something that the CRA board itself would have to vote on.
So the trees, for its beautification, they're not, CRA is not part of beautification, or will the trees be included?
We'd have to take an exact look and see exactly where it is, what exactly fell down and came down, and then go from there and just present it to the board. So I wasn't even aware that the trail was hit damage-wise. We'd have to take a look. I know there was one by the park. They came across. So the fence we could replace, but in terms of maintenance, we're not going to be able to. Possibly with trees, just depends on where and exactly what.
Another question I have, Mr. Sessions, is what is our policy? Maybe the clerk can tell us, what is our policy, our purchasing policy for emergency purchases? See, it says over here, over $35,000 threshold. What is our policy?
Once an emergency is declared, that I basically have the ability to do what's needed to put that to sit.
It's blank check.
Pretty much. But I look at everything that goes across.